Anime as a medium is something that is vastly unique and vastly diverse in a lot of different ways. I tend to gravitate towards two main genres, one of them being romance and one of them being shonen. But every so often there will be a show or two that comes out and I think to myself, that moved me. Shows like Vinland Saga, Frieren, Odd Taxi, Mob Psycho 100, and now, added to that list, is Orb on the Movements of the Earth. Now, Orb started airing back in October of 2024 and finished up this year in March 2025. So I'm a bit late to the party. I personally finished watching it about a week or two ago, so late August. And it's been one of those shows that has just stuck with me, and I think about it constantly. And that's honestly why I'm making this video, because when I know that a show lingers with me for weeks on end, I know it's going to have to be something I recommend, either to my friends or to my general audience here. And so now, before I start yapping about why I really liked Orb and why I recommend it, I will put a disclosure here. This show is extraordinarily heavy on the dialogue, and it can, for some people, have a slow start. But if you give Orb a chance, it might just move you, much like it did myself. Now, Orb is very unique in its way of storytelling, where you think you're gonna get the perspective of just your one main character, but you don't. Because this is a story told from multiple points in history about a fictional Poland, where the church orthodoxy is still strong and alive and well, and if you don't agree with its ideas, then you might as well be labeled a heretic. At the beginning of this story, we follow Rafal, a bright-eyed genius who's a bit bored about the mundaneness of his life, about the mundaneness of, oh, I'm so smart, I'm gonna go off and study theology. But then he meets somebody really interesting to him. He meets a heretic. He's tasked by his adopted father-in-law to go and escort his new heretic friend back to his home. That man has served his penance, and he is no longer in any way, shape, or form thinking about heliocentrism, the astrological theory that dictates that the planets revolve around the sun, which is also the same idea that landed this man in prison. And when he shares this little bit of knowledge with Rafal, at first he scoffs, he laughs. Rafal thinks to himself, there's no way in any universe that this is what is the truth. But then, much like myself after watching this series, he thinks about it, and he thinks about it a lot. And he has this moment of eureka when he just simply slips. And it seems to him in those moments where he slips and falls and hits his head that the earth might be moving. And this one moment is all it took to cause a chain of reactions that would just go on for the rest of the series. And that's all I really want to touch upon when I want to talk about the plot, because I think that this is best experienced completely blind. Because this one moment is what is the catalyst for decades of events that go on within the rest of the series. And I think that those are best experienced, as I mentioned, just completely blind. But there are other aspects of Orb which are just absolutely fantastic, and the main one being the theme. The idea of what lengths people will go to seek the truth, and the innate human desire of seeking the truth. And it's cool to see how Orb tackles these themes, because it's something that human beings have always done. We've always tried to seek answers to life's great mysteries. And even nowadays, we still have several questions that have gone unanswered about the cosmos. And Orb really hones in this idea that it's not just a once-in-a-lifetime thing, it's a several lifetime thing. Because science is a collective field. People constantly add on to ideas that we've known for hundreds, if not thousands of years. And that's where the characters in Orb come in. Because these characters span generations, if not just decades, of research. Research that each and every one of them have to protect in some way, shape, or form with their lives. Characters like Badeni, Okuji, and Schmidt are some of my favorite in the series, because each and every one of them really stick to their ideals but evolve as characters. And the best character, in my opinion, that really evolves with their ideals is Draka. I won't spoil exactly what happens, but Draka has come face to face with several times throughout the series where her convictions are challenged, and she doesn't back down. But there's certain points where she realizes that in order to do the greater good, she has to let go of some of those ideas. She really demonstrates how heliocentrism is something that is important to her. Now, unfortunately for our extremely likable set of protagonists and side characters, there is an equally impressive antagonist, and that is Novak. Novak's character throughout the series not only hates heliocentrism, but grows to hate it even more as the decades pass. And you can't help but feel this tension on screen whenever he's around. He's an inquisitor so good at his job that he has stopped seeing any form of quote-unquote heretics as people, and that's what makes him so terrifying as well. And despite being a loving father who really just does his best every day for his daughter, he's not a good person. I really enjoyed how they wrote Novak's character. I really enjoyed the character arc that he had. Because at the end of the day, even though you understand that Novak is not a good person, they don't outright say that the church is bad. Novak is used to show us as the audience what certain people will do to preserve the status quo, to preserve the norm. And it's up to our protagonists to ultimately to break that status quo and to show the rest of society that if we don't stop and question the status quo, that we may be robbing ourselves of the opportunity to make some discoveries that would truly move the earth. Now it's time to let me know what you guys think. Have you guys watched Orb? And if so, what are your thoughts? Who was your favorite character? I get I was a bit vague in this video, but I truly believe that watching Orb fully blind is one of the best experiences that I've had watching anime this year. And I really hope that in the making of this video, I was able to at least convince one of y'all to watch Orb. Now, I do have two more things that I want to go over just at the end here of this video, because I cannot go without saying that the opening, Kaiju by Saka Nation, is an all-timer. It is such a great opening. Maybe part of the reason as to why I can't stop thinking about Orb is how good the opening itself is. And secondly, I do think that Studio Madhouse did a great job with the animation. Is it their best? No, but that doesn't really matter because they really put in the work where it mattered, and that was in the stars. The stars in this show are absolutely brilliant. Literally. But with all of that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching. If you enjoyed what you saw, drop me a like, share the video with somebody you know, or subscribe. I appreciate the continued support throughout this little hobby of mine. So again, this has been Sagi Taco, and I will see you guys in the very near future for another video. Hasta luego.